we don't talk a lot about politics, frankly, because the issues that are happening around us, like the actual operation itself, demands most of our mental energy. But what we do talk about is how fucked up the nature of operations is, because it's not based on priorities that are operational.
What do you mean by
It's
that?
based on political priorities.
Priorities that are operational.
So think of
I got it.
Yeah, think of an operation as like a project in a business, right? So your boss, you work in a cereal factory, and they want to create a new flavor of cereal. In order for that new flavor of cereal to be approved and created, you have to have a budget committee that meets, you have to have a marketing committee that meets, you have to have the boss has to give 3 different bosses have to say yes. And then only after everybody says yes, some pile of money is then dedicated to the project. And then only after the pile of money is dedicated to the project can you go about buying the machine, buying the ingredients, and creating the cereal, right? There's a process to it. Same way with secret agent operations or military or clandestine operations. Somebody has to propose it. Somebody else has to sketch it out. Somebody else has to approve it. 3 different levels of leadership have to say yes. Then a bucket of money comes over. And that bucket of money is usually 50% of what you actually asked for, because they want proof of concept before they give you more money.
Yeah.
So it's just, that's the machine. So what ends up happening is when you're the ass on the line, you're like, we're supposed to do this big thing. We're supposed to collect secrets about hypersonic missile development in Iran. That's what we're supposed to do. We asked for $15 million. They gave us $5 million. And they told us that in 365 days, we have to demonstrate XYZ progress in order to get the next installment of $5 million. So now we're trying to launch an operation that's underfunded to fulfill a priority that the current policymakers said is a $15 million priority. Well, guess what's going to happen over the next year? There's going to be half the states are going to have new senators. There's going to be or new Congress people, right? Things are going to change. So then you might be 6 months into your 1-year op, 6 months into the first year of a 5-year op, and then new policymakers step in and Russia invades Ukraine. And then the policymakers are like, we don't care about hypersonic missiles in Iran right now. What we care about is intelligence on the battlefield in Ukraine.
And they really have that much power to say, we know where you're spending every single dollar? Because a lot of people at home wonder if that's really the case.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. Because there's so much oversight. Like, dude, when you meet with an asset in the field, if you're an informant in the field and I'm your handler and we meet and I slide you $50 and I'm like, thank you for your information. Here's $50. Do you know what I have to slide you next? A piece of paper for you to sign as a receipt. I you not. And then on that receipt in English, it has to say $50, my name, and then you have to sign it with something identifiable to you as the asset. So it can be an X or a Y or an
every
L.
time.
Every time. Because then I have to take that receipt back, and guess who I give it to?
Uncle Sam.
A budget and finance person who has to take my receipt along with all the other receipts from all the other field officers who had a meeting that day. And he has to run it against a budget that says, I gave $250 to field officers today, and I got $250 in receipts. And I can now put this $250 under a line item that says paying informants or paying assets, right? Field, slush fund, whatever it is. The same thing has to happen with every piece of equipment that comes in and out. If I want to put a GPS tracker on your boat, I have to request that GPS tracker. Always.
Shout out to Linda at CIA doing God's work out there. Jesus Christ. I don't want that job.
So that's why if we often talk, and I've said this to you before, right? There's only 10% of CIA that works undercover, roughly. And then of the people that work undercover, it's only about another 10% that operate in the field undercover.
Yeah.
That means the other 97% of the population of CIA is there to support those undercover operations financially, administratively, analytically, logistically, right? We have our own cartographers that make maps. We have our own librarians that look shit up. We have our own tech people who create ways for us to have, covert cell phone communication. All those personnel, all that talent, all that money is there to support a few field operations. Not because those field operations are super dangerous. Some of them are, but because it's a fucking administrative burden
Yeah.
to be able to communicate back to the Congress who approves the funding, like, hey, you gave us $5 million. We spent that $5 million responsibly.
So fresh on me.